The rain started before the truth did, pounding hard against the windows of a quiet house outside Seattle, like it was in a hurry to be heard. Laura Bennett stood in the living room with her phone in her hand, staring at a message she already knew by heart. 3 short lines, polite, final, the kind of words that ended something without raising their voice. She didn't cry right away. She never did. Years of being strong had taught her how to hold tears back until they burned. But tonight, the weight finally slipped through her fingers. Laura sank onto the edge of the couch. The lamp beside her stayed off. She didn't want light. She didn't want mirrors. She pulled her sweater tight around her shoulders. As if fabric could protect her from memories rushing in all at once, choices made, love lost. Years spent pretending she was untouched by it all. She wasn't supposed to be like this, Laura. Bennett was the woman who had it together. The dependable mother. The calm voice. The one who raised a son alone after her marriage ended, who never complained, never leaned too hard on anyone. She had built a life on routine and control because it was the only way she knew how to survive tonight. That control cracked. Her hair fell loose from its usual tie. Her eyes were red. Her breathing uneven. If anyone saw her now, they would see the parts she had hidden for 2 decades. The front door opened. Ethan's footsteps stopped the moment he stepped inside. He had just driven 3 hours from campus, tired and soaked, his mind still full of exams and deadlines. He expected quiet. Maybe a quick hug. Maybe leftovers in the fridge. He didn't expect silence that felt heavy. He didn't expect his mother sitting in the dark. He froze. For a long second, he didn't move. His keys slipped from his hand and hit the floor with a sharp sound that felt too loud. Laura looked up, startled, her eyes meeting his dot. That was the moment. That was when everything changed. Ethan had never seen her like this. Not sick, not angry, not busy. This was different. This was raw. This was the woman behind the role he had known his whole life. Mom. His voice came out low, unsure. Laura opened her mouth, then closed it. Her first instinct was to smile. To say she was fine. To stand up and ask him about the drive. That was the habit. That was the rule. But she didn't. She stayed where she was. The rain outside filled the silence. Ethan stepped forward slowly, like he was afraid to break something. He set his jacket down, his eyes never leaving her face. Did something happen? He asked. Laura swallowed. Her throat felt tight, but her voice stayed steady. Sit down, she said. He sat across from her, perched on the chair, hands resting on his knees. He was tall now, broad shoulders. Not a boy anymore. She noticed that in a way she never had before. He noticed too how small she looked. They sat there, facing each other, the space between them filled with things neither knew how to say yet. Ethan searched her face, trying to read her, trying to understand what he was seeing. You look tired, he said finally. Laura let out a breath that was almost a laugh. I am. That answer felt honest enough. She could feel his concern growing. It made her chest ache. She had spent years protecting him from worry, from her loneliness, from the quiet nights when the house felt too empty. She had done everything she could to make sure he never felt responsible for her. And now? She wondered if that had been a mistake. Ethan leaned forward. Did I miss something? No, she said gently. You didn't miss anything. That wasn't entirely true, but it was close. Her phone buzzed in her hand. She looked at it, then turned it face down on the table. Ethan noticed. His jaw tightened, but he didn't push. You don't have to tell me, he said. But I'm here. Those words landed deeper than he knew. Laura studied her son. The boy who used to run through the house with scraped knees. The teenager who slammed doors and pretended not to care. The young man sitting in front of her now, calm and present, offering support without demanding answers. She felt a strange mix of pride and fear, because once she spoke, there would be no going back. I got some news today, she said. Ethan nodded. Waiting? About someone from my past. His eyes softened. Was it bad? She paused. It was final. That was enough. Ethan didn't ask for names. He didn't ask for details. He understood that some endings didn't need explanation to be felt. He leaned back in his chair, letting her words settle. I always thought, he said slowly, that you just moved on. Laura smiled, small and tired. I did, and I didn't. He frowned slightly. What does that mean? It means, she said, choosing her words carefully, that you can build a life and still carry old feelings quietly. They don't control you, but they don't disappear either. Ethan looked at her like he was seeing a new piece of a puzzle he didn't know existed. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was unsettling in a way that made him grow up a little in that moment. I never thought about you like that, he admitted. Laura nodded. I know. She had worked hard to make sure he de-eyed another. Silence fell. But it felt different now. Softer, more open. The rain slowed outside, tapping gently against the glass. Ethan stood and walked to the kitchen, and came back with 2 mugs of tea. He handed one to her without a word. She wrapped her hands around it, grateful. You don't have to be strong tonight, he said quietly. I can handle it. The words caught her off guard. She blinked, then nodded once. That was the moment she chose not to hide. She didn't cry. She didn't break down. She simply let herself be seen, tired, honest, human, and Ethan didn't look away. He stayed. He listened. He learned something important without being told directly that parents were not immune to longing. Odd. That love didn't always end clean. That strength didn't mean silence. As the night moved on, the house felt different. Not heavier, not sadder, just real. Laura realized something then. Letting her son see her like that wasn't weakness. It was trust. And Ethan realized something to his. Mother wasn't just the woman who raised him. She was a person with a heart. That had lived a full life before him and one. That was still learning how to heal. Neither of them said it out loud. They didn't need to. The moment had already said enough. The house felt different the morning after. Like the air itself had shifted overnight and hadn't decided what it wanted to be yet. Sunlight spilled through the kitchen window, bright and ordinary, but nothing else felt the same. Laura Bennett stood at the counter, stirring coffee she had already forgotten to drink. Aware of footsteps moving down the hallway, Ethan appeared in the doorway. Hair still messy from sleep, college hoodie hanging loose on his shoulders. He paused when he saw her, the same way he had the night before, but this time there was no shock in his eyes, only awareness. Morning, he said. Morning. Laura replied, 2 simple words, but they carried something new between them. Not distance. Not tension. Just honesty. They sat at the table together, the quiet filled by the clink of a spoon and the hum of the refrigerator. Laura waited for awkward questions. For discomfort. For a retreat back into old roles. It didn't happen. Ethan scrolled through his phone, then looked up. I'm staying a few more days, he said. If that's okay, eh? Laura raised an eyebrow. You don't have classes. I can miss 1 or 2, he said. I want to be here. She nodded, touched but careful. You don't have to. I know, he said. I want to. That was the difference. As the day moved on, small things began to shift. Ethan fixed a loose cabinet hinge without being asked. He made lunch. He noticed when Laura went quiet and didn't rush to fill the space. He wasn't hovering. He wasn't acting like a caretaker. He was simply present. Laura watched him from the doorway, something warm and uneasy settling in her chest. She realized she had spent years seeing him as fragile, when in truth, he had grown strong in ways she hadn't noticed yet. That afternoon, they drove into town together. The streets were busy with people going about their lives, unaware of the quiet change unfolding inside a single car. Music played low on the radio. Neither of them spoke much, but it wasn't uncomfortable. At a stoplight, Ethan glanced at her. Do you ever think about what you want now? He asked. Laura hesitated. I haven't in a long time. He nodded. You're allowed to. The words stayed with her. That evening, Laura stood in the backyard as the sky turned soft shades of orange and gray. Ethan joined her, hands in his pockets. I used to think, he said, that being an adult meant having answers. Laura smiled. If that were true, I would have figured it out by now, he laughed. It was easy. Natural, I think. He said, it's more about asking better questions. She looked at him, surprised. You've changed. So have you, he replied. They stood there, side by side, not facing each other, just sharing the moment. Laura felt something loosen inside her. A weight she didn't realize she had been carrying. Later that night, Ethan sat at the dining table, working on his laptop. Laura passed by, then stopped. You know, she said, I always worried I gave you too much responsibility too young. He looked up. You didn't. You gave me honesty. Even when you thought you weren't. She considered that. I didn't let you see much. But I felt it, he said. Kids always do. That truth hit harder than she expected. The days that followed settled into a new rhythm. Morning walks, shared meals, conversations that drifted from serious to light without effort. Ethan talked about his plans, his fears, the pressure he felt to succeed. Laura listened, really listened, without trying to fix anything in return. She spoke about things she had never named before. The loneliness of quiet nights, the fear of starting over, the strange feeling of being seen only as a role for so long that you forget who you are outside of it. Ethan never judged. He never crossed lines. He respected her space, her boundaries, her past. And in doing so, he gave her something she hadn't known. She needed permission to be whole. One evening, as rain returned to the windows, Laura found herself laughing more freely than she had in years. She caught Ethan watching her, a soft smile on his face. What? She asked. Nothing, he said. Just. I like seeing you like this. She understood what he meant. Alive, open. I should have done this sooner, she said. Ethan shook his head. We did it when we were ready. That night, Laura lay in bed thinking about how love changes shape over time, how it deepens without becoming confusing, how it can be strong without being heavy. She realized something important. Letting her son see her truth hadn't taken anything away from their bond. It had strengthened it. It had allowed them to meet each other in a new place. One built on mutual respect rather than protection alone. On Ethan's last morning before returning to campus, they stood by the door. The same door where everything had shifted days earlier. I'll call you, he said. I know, she replied. He hesitated, then hugged her. Not rushed. Not tight. Just real. As he drove away, Laura watched until his car disappeared down the street. The house felt quiet again, but not empty. She went back inside, sunlight filling the rooms, and for the first time in a long while, she didn't rush to distract herself. She sat with the silence and felt at peace. Some moments don't end stories, they begin them, Laura. Knew she would still face lonely days. She knew healing wasn't fast. But she also knew she wasn't alone in the way she once believed. And Ethan, driving back toward his future, carried something new with him. Not worry, not burden, but understanding. They hadn't crossed lines. They had strengthened them, and in doing so, they found something rare and steady. Love that grew not by hiding the truth, but by letting it be seen.